Good morning and welcome to our next edition of Virtual Sunday School. Today we're going to keep learning about Moses. We've learned the story about baby Moses when he went down the river in the basket. Then we learned about Moses once he grew up and led the Israelites away from Pharaoh. And today we're going to learn even more about Moses and how God taught him some rules. So we all know what rules are. Everybody has rules at home, at school, at work. On the streets, we have rules everywhere we go. And rules are to keep us safe and to help us all get along. And these rules that God gives are just that. They're going to keep people safe and they're going to show us how to love one another. So we're going to start with our very favorite part, the movie. And in the movie, you're going to meet some characters. Obviously, Moses, he's going to be old in this story. And you're going to see God's finger. And God talks through thunder in this story, which is kind of cool, thunder and lightning. And then you'll see the Israelite people, the people that Moses is leading. And those people are having a hard time following God's rules. They're not really listening. They're not really behaving the right way. They're having some problems. So God's going to come up with some rules to help keep everybody on the right track. I want you to remember to pay attention to the color in this story. When you see color, you know that means God's presence is there. So let's watch it together. All right.
Huh? Huh? Go again. Huh?
Weema.
Huh?
Ah!
Ta-da!
Ibama.
Cuida. Cuida. Ah!
Blue Bonham Hall.
Okay, I know we love those videos because they're silly, but there's a good lesson to be learned in this story. So Moses gets called up to the top of the mountain by God, who's speaking through thunder, and he follows that colorful path all the way up to the top of the mountain. And while he's gone, things seem to really fall apart. They're all waiting around bored, and then that man brings the carved statue of the cow, and they start worshiping the cow, which I know can seem silly, but I think that it represents when we are paying attention to things that are not God, when we're worshiping things and giving our hearts and most of our attention to things that aren't God. So if we think too much about our toys, or if all we care about are our things or our friends, we're not really paying attention to God and what he's calling us to do. So when Moses goes up to the top of the mountain, things just kind of fall apart. And I think we've all seen that either in Sunday school or at home school or school, when the teacher or the grown-up leaves the room and everything just kind of blows up and everybody does what they want. And that's what happened in this story. So while Moses is up at the top of the mountain, the Israelite people are going wild, and they're fighting and they're arguing and they're just not behaving the way God wants them to. So God gives Moses the stone tablets, or the 10 Commandments, and it's just rules for how he wants us to live as Christians, how we should love God and how we should love others. So when Moses comes back down, God flicks the cow out of the picture, and that represents helping the people focus their attention back on God. And Moses shows the 10 Commandments. And then the people know how to love God, and they know how to love each other. And you can see that when they had ignored God, the color went away. But when they brought God back to their hearts, they were filled back with color. And Moses turned red because he was so mad, but his color came back too. So I hope that we can remember to keep God's rules in our heart, and let's learn a little bit more about this story in our Bible storybook. Okay, now we're going to read the story from our Bible storybook. It's called Set in Stone. Names can change and games can change and friends can move away. Hair can grow, and as you know, the weather's new each day. But God has rules that never change. They guide and comfort us. God's rules are in the Bible in a book called Exodus. I brought you out of Egypt land. That's the start of God's commands. Careful who you bow down to, that is God's next rule for you. Watch for how you use God's name. God thinks swearing's really lame. All our days come from God's stack. Once a week we give one back. Give your parents your respect, another thing that God expects. God created this whole crowd, harming others not allowed. Keep a promise, here is how. God will give you courage. Wow. Don't take things that are not yours, not from others, not from stores. Tell no lies or falsehoods, please, about your friends or enemies. Don't go crazy wanting more. God is who you're looking for. The end. Okay, so the Bible storybook just tells the same lesson in a different way. And the lesson is that God has rules for us, and it's to love him and to love others and to treat everyone with kindness and respect. And I think you probably have those same rules everywhere you go, not just at church, but we can always keep them in our hearts. And as Christians, we know that that's the way God expects us to behave, and we want to show that to everyone we meet. So I hope you can maybe have a conversation with your parents about rules that you have in your house or rules that you have in school, and how those line up with the rules that God has for us. And I hope you can show that love to everyone you meet today. All right. Have a great day, guys. See you soon.